How are you all today? I hope you are doing well. Today I wanted to do a video looking at decks, but I wasn't necessarily wanting to do a tag. So what I've decided to do is to go through my top 5 decks. So these are the decks that I reach for. I do not do formal readings for others, so my readings are mostly for myself or close family and friends. So when I look at my decks, I'm literally looking at it as a selfish endeavor. I just wanted to introduce you guys really quickly to Jasper. This is Jasper. Say hi, Jasper. He chills right here every time I do a reading on my reading desk, and he's my great companion. So, with all that being said, one of the decks that I reach for, I keep in this pretty pouch. This is one of the very few occasions that I've actually purchased the pouch with the deck. This is the Lover's card from the Superlunaris. And of course, the deck is the Superlunaris deck. If you watched my Tarot Quirks video, you know that I like to keep them in the tuck boxes in the bag. So we all have our things. So I really, really love this tarot deck. The first time I saw it, I was blown away by it. I feel like this tarot deck is very inclusive. I love the art style. My favorite color is blue. So, here are the backs. We're dealing with a little bit of blue. We're doing some throat chakra, maybe some third eye here. We're doing some crown chakra here. Loving the coloring of the deck. And these images, I just love how, I don't know, I'm not well versed enough on art to be able to describe what this is. It looks to me like manipulated photo images, but it could also be collage work happening here that I just have no idea because I don't have an expertise in that arena. I love this Knight of Swords. I love the fact that she's in her pajamas. Ugh, I just love it. I love this deck. I really do. There's one particular image that blows me away. Look at that Queen of Pentacles. Oh, she's just fabulous, darling. Fabulous, darling. Yes, yes, darling. I'm trying to see if I can find... Oh, here's the Lover's card that's on the zip pouch that I keep it in. Let me see. This card right here, I got this in a reading the other day, and I love this depiction of the Five of Swords. I love the two men in the background, kind of looking for bodies. She looks battered, but still standing in the midst of all of this. To me, it brings a very different energy from what I formerly learned in the RWS for the Five of Swords, and I love it. This deck is also a really great reader. It gives me very clear readings. It also gives me a slightly different perspective on the tarot. They definitely took some liberties with the imagery, which I always love in a deck. I love learning from decks. The next deck I wanted to show you guys is a deck that most of you have seen, I'm sure. But this is one of my favorite decks, and that is the Mermaid Tarot. Now, I know a lot of people consider this deck to be a little bit childish. They don't like the cartoon style. I love it. First of all, I love the fact that it's about the sea. I have an affinity for the Orisha Yamaya, and so this really speaks to me. I love the diversity of this deck. I love the guidebook. The guidebook is really well written, and there are some amazing stories written into the deck as well. I think in my first video I showed off the Queen of Swords, from this deck. And the story that they write about her in the guided book is awesome. Love this Hierophant. Oh, look at the lovers. Look how it's her looking into a mirror. Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like people don't give this deck enough credit. This deck is phenomenal, in my opinion. There goes one of my birth cards, the Hermit. Love it. So, yes, the Mermaid Tarot, one of my favorite decks, one of the decks I reach for. I actually usually keep this one right next to my bed. The next deck, third deck that I wanted to talk about, the Gentle Tarot. I keep it in one of my mandala bags. And of course, there goes the top box. I was fortunate enough with this one to find a limited edition deck, which that's my favorite finish on a deck. So, I mean, and this deck is just, this deck to me, and here are the backs, of course, right next to it, it fits its namesake perfectly. And that's why I love to use it. It's funny because I watch a lot of readers talk about how they love this in-your-face deck thing. That's not really my thing. I'm hard enough on myself. I don't need a deck to be screaming on me as well. So the voice with which the Gentle Tarot speaks to me, I respond to in a very deep way. This is also one of my very few, it might be my only deck that portrays animals. I don't have an affinity for animal decks, but the way it's done in this deck, I can get behind because it's not the focus of the deck, right? Like, it's not the focus of the deck. Like, you've got animals, you've got human beings, you've got landscapes, you've got all different types of stuff, everything from nature. I believe this was made by an indigenous woman in Alaska. And I love the fact that I'm supporting an indigenous artist as well. But yes, this is a fantastic deck and one of my main decks that I reach for, the Gentle Tarot. The next deck and the final tarot deck in the 5 is this deck. This deck was made by a company called Akamara Tarot, and it's called Tongues of the Mother. I really, really, really love this deck. This deck, from the first day I got this deck, I was just blown away. Now, it is a pip style deck, as you can see. There are the backs, reversible backs. But I just love this deck. So the major arcana have been renamed in this deck. So this would be the Chariot, and in this deck they call it the Nomad. All right. We've got Equalize for Judgment. And it's just an all-around fantastic reader. I don't use this deck on other people at all. This is a deck solely for myself. And the guidebook, the way in which this deck is written, the meanings, I'm just blown away. This deck is very profound to me. And yeah, I love having it. I love using it. I feel blessed to be able to have a deck like this. And that was the Tongues of the Mother. The last deck I wanted to talk about was an oracle deck. And it's a very important oracle deck to me. That is my African Goddess Rising deck. I love this deck. I love this deck. I can't say enough. I keep meaning to edit. I don't know what I'm doing with that flag there. Here are the backs. And I mean, this deck, I wouldn't call it like African Goddess Rising suggests to me that it's just goddesses from the continent of Africa. That is not the case. I would term this more of a melanated deck because there are goddesses here from Caribbean tradition, from Hoodoo tradition here in the United States, etc. So it's kind of all mixed up, but I love this deck so much. Here we go, an example, Mary Laveau. That is New Orleans in the house. I love the way this deck is presented. I love the artwork. Oh, there goes Yamaya. Look how beautiful. She's pregnant. She looks gorgeous in this deck. I love the way they've depicted her here. We've got Medusa. Oh my goodness. It's just a powerful, powerful deck. Every time I draw from this deck, I'm profoundly moved. I journal about almost every pull that I do from this deck. And this deck just means a lot. I connect with this deck very, very deeply. And I'm thankful to Abiola Abrams for making it. And Hay House for putting it out. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. So there you have it. These are my 5 main decks. These are the decks that I go to, that I reach for when I want a message, when I want a reading, when I want solace. Like this African Goddess Rising deck, sometimes I just pull it out just to look at the images because they're so beautiful to me. But yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a good one.